So I know 7 women. I'd like to describe them to you. So one of these women is a Harvard Law graduate and a Princeton University graduate. One of them is a poet and a civil rights activist. One is a politics and public management graduate and is an entrepreneur. 2 of them are Masters of Research graduates. One is a lecturer now, and one works in the non-governmental organization field. One of these women is a lawyer and graduated from Rhodes University. And the 7th woman is the woman speaking to you right now. My name is Violetta Ngube. I'm a PhD candidate, a researcher, a lecturer, and a CEO of my own business called Right Research. So if I were to ask you about these 7 women based on the little information I've given you, which has been their professional background, what would you say about them? I'll go first. I would say they're bold. I'd say they're courageous. I'd say they're hardworking. I'd throw in clever, or maybe even determined to have gotten to where they've gotten. I would say they are go-getters, and I'd venture to say that they're beautiful inside and out. But there's something that I want you to know about these women. At one point in their lives, and maybe at a point to come, they've all suffered from imposter syndrome. I bet you that's not something you'd have even listed if I asked you to list them in 10 words. To describe them in 10 words, that's something you'd have said. But that's something that is a reality. So what is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is a feeling of inadequacy. It's a feeling that you're going to be caught out, or someone's going to find out that you're a fraud and you shouldn't be where you are. And that's why I've titled my presentation, based on overcoming imposter syndrome, You Belong Where You Are, Really. So before we even look at imposter syndrome, we have to think who can be affected by imposter syndrome. And based on how I've described these women, you can see that anyone can be. And for most of the people who are affected by imposter syndrome, it's people at the top of their game, people who are talented, people who are skilled, people who other people look at and say, wow. But internally, those people are still struggling with this inner battle of, yes, I have this external validation that I should be here, but internally I'm still struggling with a feeling of, something's not right. Like, why am I here? Do I even deserve to be here? And what's very important to note about imposter syndrome is that it's something that we need to tackle because it bleeds into so many areas of our lives. So for instance, it can affect you in your relationships, where you start to feel like you don't deserve to be with this person, or you're punching above your weight. In your friendships, the same thing. But where it affects us the most is in careers. It affects in such a way that you may not even apply for a job because you feel like, no, I don't think I meet the criteria. Even if you do, you may feel like, no, there are probably other people more talented. So are you. It comes up in not speaking up in meetings, not speaking up for yourself, not advocating for yourself, almost shrinking yourself, because if you don't deserve to be in this room and you are in this room, you almost feel like, let me just be so small and inconspicuous. But that affects you and affects everybody else in that same room because they don't hear from you. And hearing from you is the reason why you're in that room. Everyone in this room, everyone in that room wants to hear from everyone. And there's a reason that you're in that room. So yes, we can all talk about the different ways that it affects us, but I've thought of very practical strategies to overcome that I'm using, and I hope that will be helpful to you. The first thing I found is to really try and avoid negative talk. Not to try and talk yourself out of something, but try and talk yourself into doing something. So it doesn't have to be the biggest thing, to now put up your hand and say, I'm going to present tomorrow. You can start something small and be like, okay, maybe tomorrow, I haven't said anything this whole month. Tomorrow I'll say something in the meeting. Tomorrow I'll say 2 things. I'll just give my opinion on something. I won't just sit there and try and become as small as possible. And also it's important to give yourself grace. To understand that so many things that happen in our lives, we put on layers and layers to protect ourselves, and these layers and layers make us feel more and more like an imposter. So it's important to also think of small wins and really celebrating these small wins, When you advocate for yourself, that should be something that should be celebrated. When you stand up and say something, or you really try something you haven't tried before, that's something that should be celebrated. And I think it's important to celebrate those tiny wins as well. And also what you can do is to really stand up and put your arms on your hips and really channel your inner superhero. Yes, it may seem dumb, but no one can see you right now. Just stand up and do it, and you'll start to see that, okay, you may not feel it yet, but you can just fake it until you feel it. So that helps as well, having a Superman pose, and also just giving yourself a little pep talk, or being your own hype woman, your own hype man. Just be like, okay, you know what? I got this. I can do this. Yes, I may not feel like I should be doing this right now, but let me just do it, because if externally, if I've been invited to this room, clearly I have something that is of value that people want to hear from. So what I can do at least is to say something, or at least be there. I just want to end this with just the notion and the conclusion that you belong where you are, really. Thank you so much.